test. Intelligence test. A method for assessing an individual's mental aptitudes and comparing them with those of others, using numerical scores. Intelligence. Mental quality consisting of the ability to learn from experience, solve problems, and use knowledge to adapt to new situations. General intelligence. A general intelligence factor that, according to Spearman and others, underlies specific mental abilities and is therefore measured by every task on an intelligence test. Factor analysis. A statistical procedure that identifies clusters of related items on a test used to identify different dimensions of performance that underlie one's total score. Savant syndrome. A condition in which a person otherwise limited in mental ability has an exceptional specific skill, such as in computation or drawing. Creativity. The ability to produce novel and valuable ideas. Emotional intelligence. The ability to perceive, understand, manage, and use emotions. Mental age. A measure of intelligence test performance devised by Binet. The chronological age that most typically corresponds to a given level of performance. Thus, a child who does as well as the average 8-year-old is said to have a mental age of 8. Stanford Binet. The widely used American revision of Binet's original intelligence test. Intelligence quotient. Defined originally as the ratio of mental age to chronological age multiplied by 100, thus, IQ equals x 100. On contemporary intelligence tests, the average performance for a given age is assigned a score of 100. Achievement tests. A test designed to assess what a person has learned. Aptitude tests. A test designed to predict a person's future performance. Aptitude is the capacity to learn. Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale. The WAIS is the most widely used intelligence test, contains verbal and performance subtests. Standardization. Defining meaningful scores by comparison with the performance of a pre-tested group. Normal curve. The symmetrical bell-shaped curve that describes the distribution of many physical and psychological attributes, including intelligence. Most scores fall near the average, and fewer scores lie near the extremes. One standard deviation equals 15. Reliability. The extent to which a test yields consistent results, as assessed by the consistency of scores on two halves of the test, on alternate forms of the test, or on retesting. Validity. The extent to which a test measures or predicts what it is supposed to. Content validity. The extent to which a test samples the behavior that is of interest. Predictive validity. The success with which a test predicts the behavior it is designed to predict. It is assessed by computing the correlation between test scores and the criterion behavior. Mental retardation. A condition of limited mental ability, indicated by an intelligence score of 70 or below, and difficulty in adapting to the demands of life, varies from mild to profound. Down syndrome. A condition of retardation and associated physical disorders caused by an extra copy of chromosome 21. Stereotype threat. A self-confirming concern that one will be evaluated based on a negative stereotype. Alfred Binet developed the Binet-Simon test, which sought to measure children's mental age and help French schoolchildren get needed attention. Howard Gardner views intelligence as multiple abilities, proposed 8 multiple intelligences: naturalist, linguistic, logical, mathematical, musical, spatial, body, kinesthetic, intrapersonal, and interpersonal. Louis Terman modified the Binet-Simon test to be suitable for Americans, devised the Stanford Binet test, which was supported eugenics during World War I and in immigration quotas. Arthur Stone. Spearman's early opponent was initially against a single intelligence scoring system, devised 7 clusters of mental ability: word fluency, verbal comprehension, spatial ability, perceptual speed, numerical ability, inductive reasoning, and memory. David Wechsler created the most widely used intelligence test, the WAIS for adults and the WISC for children. Yields an overall score, but separates scores into subfields also. Describe the distinction between the G and S factors of intelligence as argued by Spearman. G factor is a generalized factor that underlies all distinct clusters of mental ability, whereas the S factor is uniquely tied to particular areas of functioning. How does evidence from brain-damaged patients support Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences? Damage to a particular structure in the brain may impair some abilities while leaving others intact. According to Sternberg, what type of intelligence is useful to possess in the workplace, and why is it important? Practical intelligence relies on tacit knowledge that is gleaned from experience in the business environment. Describe the prevailing theory of intelligence held by modern psychologists. Most modern psychologists support a hierarchical model of intelligence, in which they agree that a G factor is at work in every task, while special abilities and factors may selectively be used in some contexts but not others. Define the concept of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence refers to an individual's ability to perceive, express, and assimilate emotion, as well as to regulate emotion in the self and others. Describes Sternberg's balance theory of wisdom. Describe the qualities of a creative environment. Encouraging people to be innovative, relatively free of criticism, provide freedom, creative role models, sufficient resources, and time to think and explore. Name and describe the statistical pattern intelligence test scores tend to follow. Score tend to follow a normal distribution, such that most individuals achieve fairly similar scores. At or near the center of the distribution, a smaller percentage of individuals score on the extreme, high and low ends of the distribution. Explain two different methods that can be used to measure the reliability of scores obtained from a testing instrument. Administer alternate versions of the test to the same people to determine whether the scores are correlated. Split half method would split one test in half and correlate an individual's scores from each half. Describe Galton's theory of psychophysical intelligence. More intelligent people have more energy to perform work and greater perceptual sensitivity to external stimuli. Terman was an advocate of the eugenics movement. How did his work with intelligence tests address this philosophy? Terman believed that only fit individuals should reproduce. Fit was defined by IQ scores. Define the Flynn effect and identify 2 factors that may contribute to changes in IQ. Finding that IQ scores around the world are rising over time. Factors that contribute to this effect may include better education, better nutrition, and evolutionary shifts in genetic inheritance. Describe the research methodology that Plowman and colleagues used to isolate the genetic component of IQ. Assessed the IQ of identical twins separated at birth and raised in different homes. Describe how Chinese intelligence theorists define intelligence. Postulated about 5 factors of intelligence, including a general cognitive factor, interpersonal intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, intellectual self-assertion, and intellectual self-effacement. Discuss 2 ways in which a lack of finances in a family may contribute to less intellectual stimulation in children. Likely to provide fewer books and educational toys, parents read to their children less. Poor children encounter early environmental limitations. Describe EEG findings that address intelligence. Assessing how quickly people process stimuli that are flashed before their eyes suggests that more intelligent people may be physiologically wired to acquire and utilize information more quickly than others. Describe general findings from PET studies that indicate that glucose metabolism is associated with intelligence. Individuals who perform well on an intellectual task show less brain activity than others. This suggests that the brains of highly intelligent people do not need to work as hard as the brains of less intelligent people. What pattern of cortical thickening was demonstrated by the most intelligent participants in Shaw's study? Highly intelligent participants started with a thin cortex during childhood and it gradually thickened until the age of 11 or 12, then began and continued thinning throughout the late teenage. Describe 3 characteristics of Down syndrome. Small heads, slanted eyes, high cheekbones, reduced intellectual functioning, very affectionate with family members. Discuss 2 common characteristics of gifted individuals. Intrinsically motivated, raised in nurturing and stimulating environments, may display social and emotional difficulties. According to Spearman, what factor of intelligence underlies all distinct clusters of mental ability? The G factor. What population did Gardner study to provide supportive evidence for his theory of multiple intelligences? Savants. Practical intelligence often relies on blank, tacit knowledge. What is needed for a person with superior innate mental abilities to develop to their potential? An encouraging environmental context. What learning theorist postulated about the existence of social intelligence? Thorndike. What theorist believed that intelligence is a manifestation of personality? Wechsler. What process is defined as obtaining meaningful test scores from a sample population through the use of uniform procedures? Standardization. If a test consistently produces similar scores for the same test takers over time, what psychometric property has been illustrated? Reliability. What type of validity do the SAT and GRE college admission tests reportedly have? Predictive. What does intelligence quotient represent? Relationship or ratio between mental and chronological age. What testing phenomenon may occur when people from a particular group perform poorly because they fear that their performance will conform to some negative belief about the group? Stereotype threat. What two trends in group differences in intelligence have been observed? Racial groups who have different average scores on intelligence tests. High-scoring individuals are more likely to attain higher levels of education and income. What term describes the speed at which electrical impulses are transmitted along nerve fibers and across synapses? Nerve conduction velocity. What two areas of the brain may be activated by spatial tasks? Left and right lateral prefrontal cortices. Changes in cortical thickness may be associated with what phenomenon? Neural pruning. What generally causes severe and profound levels of mental retardation? Biological factors. In Termites study, what name was given to participants with high intelligence scores who were studied longitudinally? Termites.